Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight at ANC 34G's regular meeting, March 10th. Time is 6:36. I call the meeting to order and start by introducing commissioners, going on my screen from left to right. Starting with you, Commissioner Gosselin.
Hi, I'm Peter Gosselin. I'm the Commissioner for District 6, which is largely side of Connecticut Avenue back to Friendship Heights. Welcome.
And welcome, everyone. My name is Lisa Gore. I'm the Commissioner for ANC 34G01, which is all of Hawthorne and portions of Barnaby Woods. Welcome. Commissioner Nagy.
Yeah, hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm Liz Nagy, and I'm Commissioner for SMD 07, which is south of Military, east of Reno, west of Nevada, and north of Chevy Chase Parkway.
Commissioner Simmons.
Hi, Commissioner Simmons for Single Member District 5. I have the east side of Connecticut from Legation all the way to Western, backed up to Broad Branch. Thank you.
Commissioner Fennessy.
Hi, Laura Finizzi, SMD 04. That's between Broad Branch and Utah, roughly western to McKinley, includes Lafayette Park and Lafayette Elementary School.
Commissioner Grunwald. You're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carol Grunwald. I'm the Commissioner for SMD 03. And the boundaries of my district are Utah Avenue to the northeast, 27th Street to the east, Broad Branch Road to the south and to the west, McKinley to the north. Then it jogs north and east along Nebraska, where it joins Utah. Thank you.
Commissioner Sherman.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Bruce Sherman. I'm the Commissioner for District 02.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. In terms of meeting procedures, they're pretty similar. For folks, we are now 100% virtual until we get a location and some assistance, administrative assistance to help with meeting procedures. So we're not in person. But in terms of virtual, if you want to address the commission, please use the raise your hand function. That is, if you don't know, at the middle of your screen under the React menu. I encourage community members to come and show their face, enhance your camera so we could see you. We will have probably 3 minutes for each community member and commissioner to speak. I'll ask that you all be patient with that. We might adjust that in the course of the meeting if we have to. And other than that, always be respectful of each other's comments and your fellow community members. And with that, commissioners, is there any changes to tonight's agenda? I think we have one suggested change.
Yeah, I have one change, which is to replace the item concerning ECC with a draft resolution that we have circulated to the community, and I wish us to consider tonight regarding preserving the PKEEP funding for supplemental pre-kindergarten in the district.
Commissioners, any issue with that? Any other changes to the agenda, Commissioner Gosselin?
Yeah, as I said at the outset, and in a note I just sent around to my fellow commissioners, I screwed up on handling a public space application for Georgetown events. This would be for an outdoor cafe for the new restaurant going in just north of Citibank. I very much hope we support this, but given that you haven't had any chance to see the application and the public hasn't, I leave it to you whether we should strike this from the agenda or take it up. I'd just say the general partner for Georgetown events is online racing to coach his daughter's field hockey team, but prepared to answer questions if we keep this on the agenda. How do you want to proceed? I think it's non-controversial.
Well, I think he should present fully to the community. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Is that all right with everybody?
I mean, so I'm saying I would move we strike it, Peter. I mean, do we have time to get it in on the 24th?
24th is bad, but I mean, the 7th, we have time for the 7th.
Would you? So April, you're saying we don't have a meeting on, it's the 10th, I believe, I thought.
Well, wait, that's fine. Turns out, when I finally talked to Eamon Banks, that the Public Space Committee is not taking this up in March. It's taking it up the 23rd or 24th of April. So
Oh, yeah, let's strike it.
that's all I'm saying. So your preference is to strike it and have a presentation by the, that's fine. With that, you need not be driving and getting ready to answer questions. I see you online, but you can strike, you can bow out. So then I move that we amend the agenda by striking the discussion at 6:50 on the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Simmons?
I just want to point out our April meeting is April 28th, not April 7th.
We have two, I think, in April, but we can come back to that. We'll come back to that. Okay, any other amendments to the agenda, commissioners? Okay, so I move that we accept the agenda as amended by Commissioners Sherman and Gosselin. Any further discussion? All those in favor, commissioners, raise your hand. Okay, 7-0 to amend. Thank you. All right, so we'll proceed with Commissioner Nagy on the adoption of the meeting minutes. We have February 10th on here, but you also sent around the 25th. Do you want to add?
Actually, I sent around the 24th, the 25th, and I think we've already adopted the 10th.
Yeah.
I thought, because I have those as finalized. So
Okay.
in my reckoning, it's only the 24th and 25th at this point.
All right, so we'll amend it.
I would, sorry. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I apologize. Okay, well, I move that we adopt the meeting minutes for the 24th and 25th.
Second.
Commissioners, all those in favor, raise your hand. We don't really have to vote on this, but 7-0. Okay, thank you. We can all right. The next portion of the agenda is a opportunity for residents in the audience, those of you that are online, to bring up any issues that the commission does not have on its current agenda for tonight. And that could be anything that's happening in your neighborhood, a concern over a project, or issue that we just don't have on our radar. If you want to share something with the commission, I ask that you raise your hand and we'll call upon you. Anything? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the next topic, which is Commissioner Simmons, birdsong tie petition.
Hi, commissioners in the community. I have Aaron Gordon here with us. He's going to talk about his establishment that's expected to open sometime, I think, in the spring. The goal of this is for the commission and the community to be in support of their liquor license. So Aaron, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Aaron Gordon. I'm the owner and operator of Little Beast. Little Beast, as you may know, opened about 6 years ago. And I think we've been a nice addition to the community, mostly family and neighborhood-oriented foods. Well, we saw an opportunity to do something a little bit different down the street. Sadly, Blue 44 closed, but that did open an opportunity for us. We did a pop-up about 2 years ago with a wonderful, wonderful chef named Kitima Bunmala. She is a Thai chef from the northwest of Thailand. She's a phenomenal chef. And we did a pop-up at Little Beast with her food and with her cocktails. And it was so wonderful that we said, we really have to put this concept, modern Thai, high-end, authentic Thai, into the Chevy Chase neighborhood. As some of you may know, I work here on Little Beast, but I also live just down the street on Stuyvesant. We realized that there really wasn't a good Asian food of any kind in our neighborhood. As a matter of fact, you really had to go, well, you could go to Sushi Co. for sushi, but aside from that, you really had to go to the UDC area or out to Bethesda area to get anything decent in Asian food. So we thought, what a wonderful compliment to the neighborhood. So our plan is to put in the corporate name is Sanboon Thai LLC, but the working name is Birdsong Thai. And we plan to have about 75 seats inside, another 20 seats outside. Almost exactly the same footprint. Actually, pretty much exactly the same footprint as Blue 44 had. We plan to do, as I mentioned before, high-end, modern Thai. This is not going to be quite as much a family establishment as Little Beast has been. Of course, we'll welcome families, but this might be said to be a little bit more high-end than that. We're going to bring in a wonderful, wonderful pastry chef, Naomi Gallego, who's worked with me for a long time. And she's worked at the Blue Duck Tavern, and she opened many, many wonderful restaurants as their pastry chef, dessert chef, etc. There's very few chefs, pastry chefs, I should say, left in Washington, D.C. Almost no restaurant has them. She opened Diplomat, actually, is one everyone may know, doing their bread program, their dessert program. She oversaw everything. Really wonderful. She'll be doing the whole dessert menu in sort of a Thai American-inspired dishes. We're also bringing in, we can't quite name her yet, but we're also bringing in a Michelin-starred mixologist or cocktail person. And that's going to be really fun. We're really proud of that. I know I'm speaking to you here as a man, but we have 3 woman chefs or female chefs, including my partner Katima, Naomi, and our mixologist. So I think that's pretty cool. We are, so we're doing a great Thai program. We're doing a great to-go program. So we, from doing business at Little Beast and making pizza and doing to-go, we would expect about 30 to 40% of our business to be takeaway or to-go. So we're going to be doing a wonderful Thai, a really wonderful pastry program, and a very nice cocktail program. Obviously, we'll have wines and we'll have Thai-inspired beers. So we have a lot of really nice things going on. I know the neighborhood very well. We are taking what the infrastructure from Blue 44 and basically making furniture and cosmetic changes now. And we would expect, if all goes well here, we would expect to premiere probably around May 10th or so. So this is a very quick turnaround. We're only a couple of months away, and we'll be doing our grand opening very, very soon. So we're really excited to be doing a second restaurant in Chevy Chase. We're thrilled to be doing a high-end Asian concept, and we just think it's going to be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Gossel?
Well, Aaron, just so we understand, in terms of the liquor license you're looking for and hours and so on and so forth, is there any change over what Blue had?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much identical. I can't remember exactly what they had, but I think we just followed their roadmap. So the request we put in was, I think, the same request we have for Little Beast. And I think it's way less than the hours that were given to, say, the Avenue, as an example, that goes till 3. So
You,
I think our request was till maybe 1 a.m. We have a fairly sleepy neighborhood overall, as you all probably know, and everyone probably likes pretty well. So truthfully, while we have a 12 o'clock closure during the week at Little Beast, as an example, we usually close by about 9:30. So we don't get anywhere close to that. With the weekends, I don't think we really pass maybe 10:30. That's just pretty much the latest we're going to stay open. Now, this one is, Birdsong will be slightly elevated, slightly more elevated, slightly older audience, I guess you could say. So it may stay open a little bit later, but you know, I seriously doubt that it'll go past, say, 11 or 11:30.
Commissioner Simmons?
Oh, I'm
Anything?
sorry. I just wanted to note that I had the liquor license up. I apologize. I didn't note that. But I have the hours on the liquor license if anyone's interested.
what,
Yeah, what are the hours?
typically, establishments ask for longer hours than they run. But
Okay. So right now, Aaron just mentioned what he said, I think, but on the application, we have Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. So that would be the longest that they could stay open per the license, but he mentioned his hours.
Mr. Sherman?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for being here. I support your initiative and the application. I have a question. When you're looking at starting a new restaurant in our neighborhood, what is your market research due diligence like?
Well, you mean beyond the fact that I live here, my children go to Lafayette, and I run Little Beast?
Well, that of course, but just in terms of tie as opposed to anything else.
We've First of all, it really does come from me living here. I besides about a 10-year stint on the West Coast, I've lived here for 40 years. And when I say here, I mean literally in Chevy Chase. So I know the area very, very well, going to Merch, Deal, Wilson, and eventually UVA, and then coming back to DC and working on Capitol Hill, and then coming back and opening restaurants. I just know it very, very well. So the majority of the market research comes from me. That being said, we have talked to many, 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 I would venture to say up to thousands of our clientele about Asian food and Thai specifically, and everyone that we've talked to, I don't think it's too much to say that 100% of the people that we've talked to have been extremely excited and all said basically the same thing. That's wonderful. We need some Asian food here. We haven't had this before. The third thing is, I already mentioned that we actually ran essentially a test run.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we did a pop-up, meaning it's actually more than a pop-up. It's really called a restaurant takeover. So we took a month, I think it was February, 2 or 3 years ago, and it took us this long to find a location. But we had a restaurant takeover, meaning we put aside Little Beast for the entire night on 4 consecutive Sunday nights, and ran sort of a miniature version of what Birdsong will be. Thai food, Thai cocktails, and we had a great, great response. We sold out all 4 nights. And the people we spoke with said arguably it's one of the best ties they've had. And I don't think it's too much to say this, but a little known secret is my sister-in-law is a very well-renowned food critic for the Washingtonian for the long time, now for Axios. And she was the one who introduced me to Katima, my partner on this, telling me as a food critic, in her food critic opinion, that Katima makes, if we were to open tomorrow, we'll have the best Thai in Washington, D.C. by tomorrow. And it certainly is not something crazy for me to think that within 2 years, we will have maybe not a Michelin star, but some sort of a Michelin recognition, maybe a Bib Gourmand, which means a great neighborhood place, or just even a Michelin recognition. That's our aim, and that's where I think we're going to be.
Oh.
That's the celebration of your participation here, Aaron. You're being given the ANC seal of approval courtesy of Zoom.
First, let me say this, Aaron. First, let me say wahoo-wah. And secondly, let me say, I just figured out how to work this new timer. I spent a half hour before the meeting to get a timer working and then couldn't use it because we ran out of the free sessions and I found the new one. So I had no idea it had that alarm sound. So but
Okay.
with that, commissioners, I'm going to ask if we can go on and take a vote so we can move on to the next topic. I think we pretty much are all going to have a favorable outcome. Are you all comfortable with that? Any more questions for Aaron? All right. So I move that we, Commissioner Simmons, you want to make the motion?
Yes, I move that we support Birdsong in their liquor license application.
Second.
Okay. Commissioners, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, 7-0. Thank you. Sorry for that dramatic ending.
No, it was perfect timing.
Good luck, Aaron.
Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. Thank you so much. I really
Yes,
appreciate it.
thanks for
Thank
joining.
you.
All right, I'm gonna try to turn that off. But in the meantime, we can move on to Commissioner Simmons again with the community update on the DMPED disposition hearing.
Yes. So for those that are on the March, we received notification earlier this month, end of February, that DMPED has scheduled the disposition hearing for the library and community center. We will have that on March 29th from 9 to 5. During this session, there will be an opportunity for the community to see all of the developers who submitted a bid for the development. And after that, there will be a open house, which means each developer will have a spot somewhere in the community center, and residents and people of the community can go up to these developers, ask them questions about their presentations or anything that they have, any questions that you may have about the project. After that, we will be collecting feedback from the community to see what it is that you like or don't like about the development. And then we have 60 days for the ANC to develop a resolution to give it to DMPED. I just want to point out that last month, we wrote a letter to DMPED requesting for more community engagement, and they looked at our letter. They gave us 60 days versus their normal 30 days. Also, this is the first time they will have a 9 to 5 disposition meeting. So this is the first that they will have a disposition meeting for this long. So just like to ask the community to spread the word to your neighbors, to let them know about the disposition meeting. And there will also be a virtual option. So I think we should get this posted on our website just so everyone can have an opportunity to know about the disposition meeting, as well as having the link to join the virtual option.
I thought we had it. Was
It
it?
is posted.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Posted. Okay. Okay, great. Well, it's posted on the website. I haven't seen it. Great.
Any questions from commissioners?
I have a question. Is it a meeting or a hearing? I've heard both, and I'm curious as to which it is and what the difference might be. Does anyone know?
It's a meeting.
It's a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lisa,
Commissioner Gosselin?
showing up.
Commissioner Gosselin?
You do know the clock keeps showing up. It's up there. Did you intend that?
Yes.
Sorry. I wanted to add this to what Corinthia said. I have been involved in one way or the other with this in this debate for almost 5 years, and so have some of the other commissioners. Amazingly, this is going to be the first time we ever really see pictures of what somebody wants to and thinks they have the money to build there. So whatever you think of the idea, whatever we think of what we ultimately see, this is a real watershed event, and people should get out. And it's hugely important to get the word out. I think it's so important that I've already produced cards and have gotten them halfway distributed. So I think all of us ought to be getting out, canvassing our districts, and getting people to come to this. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. I'm doing cards and mailers. Commissioner Sherman?
You're on mute.
So I understand from what DEMPED has said that this will be like the DEMPED presentations on the redevelopment of the Civic Corps in October or thereabouts of 2023, if I'm recalling correctly, when they did their 2 different sessions with the community and they had a facilitated discussion with members of the community. They're going to be using the same firm, I understand, and the same general approach, a facilitated conversation in which the various bidders will present their proposals to the community. And Commissioner Simmons, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Gosselin, if you know more of the details, that what they have in mind then is that there would be breakout rooms where people in the community can go to engage with the individual bidders directly and ask questions and learn a lot more about each proposal. So in terms of the structure of the day, people have asked me, what are they going to do for an entire day? And keep in mind also that it's difficult for a lot of people to spend an entire day with us. So that's a little bit of a limiting factor, but I'm taking it that the presentations will be recorded so that we can share those. But that's the lay of the land, as I understand it. They roll out the proposals, then we go into breakout sessions. Is there any more about the format, Commissioners Gosselin and Simmons, that you're aware of?
Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherman. No, the presentations won't be shared. I'm sorry, I just wanted to answer Robert Gordon in the chat. The presentations won't be shared ahead of time. And the idea is for the presentations to be recorded so that people can go back to review them. And from 9 to 5, the presentations will be at the beginning, and then the open house will be, if the presentations go until 11 to 5, the community will have an opportunity to talk to the developers.
Right.
So it's not intended for someone to stay from 9 to 5, unless you want to.
Right.
You can stay from 9 to 5, but the goal is to make sure the community has the opportunity to engage with the respondents to the RFP. Another mention here is that DEMPED refers to the meeting as a hearing meeting. It's going to be an opportunity for the community to see pictures, as well as what the developers have responded to DEMPED with. So did I answer all your questions, Bruce?
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And I think if there is anything further that we can get from DEMPED ahead of time about how this is going to be structured, so people, if they're going to time their participation, they can know when to show up and, when kind of peak time is.
Yep, okay, so
Okay,
I'll reach out to them to see if we can get a more formalized schedule.
On the show.
So if people want to pop in and out, I'll reach out and get back.
And just to follow on, do we know, as they did last time, when they took feedback and they had people jot down notes on Post-it pieces of paper, and they indicated questions, comments, what have you, they gained feedback that way on the proposals as they came out. I'm just wondering what the process is this time to actually get that feedback, as opposed to simply being oral remarks that people make when they walk into a breakout space.
Yes,
Two
I
and a
think that's,
Warning commissioners, 2.5
What'd you
minute warning.
okay, yeah, so I think that's where we as commissioners engage with our constituents to jot that down. I know after this, I believe you, Lisa, and Peter have been engaged with Go Vocal. I haven't been engaged with Go Vocal yet, but I think that's another opportunity for us to gather that feedback from the community. I don't think we will be doing that at the disposition meeting, but we can inquire about that. Brian asked if it'll be taped. It will be recorded. Go ahead, Lisa.
Go to Commissioner Gosselin. We're at 1.5 minutes, commissioners.
Just to follow up, Bruce, I think that it's incumbent on, I think I need to remind the other commissioners, Bruce, I think you already know this, that we are working hard to stand up this new community engagement software. And the moment we have these plans and these pictures, we will put them on the software on our website. And I think that we will be using that to go back and forth with residents of the community about what they like, what they don't like, what's acceptable, and so on. And we're going to have to, I think most immediately for the 29th, one of the things we could do as commissioners is basically short post these Q&A sessions and report back and summarize, put that up on the Go Vocal site so that we consolidate as much information as we can get, and then have that sitting there for the 60 days that we have.
Commissioners, we're at 45 seconds on this. I'm gonna recommend that Commissioner Simmons was just given an update. We're going to get into some nitty gritty with the next portion of our agenda. We have 40 minutes for the next portion of our agenda. So please keep in mind the time so that we can also get community discussion in. There's a couple things that were in the chat, and I believe Commissioner Simmons, you answered pretty much everything that was raised in the chat. Commissioner Nagy.
Thank you. There are a couple of things about the which have not been addressed about the company that's coming in to do the facilitating. That I think
Commissioner Nagy, can we discuss that in the next portion?
Yes, absolutely. But I just wanted to address the question. They're not all the questions in the chat.
Okay.
Dealt with.
All right. So we can add that into the next. I want us to try to keep time as much as possible because this portion is going to be the bigger kicker. So this is for all commissioners. We'll start now with the broader discussion on the overall community engagement. You want to pick up, Commissioner Nagy, with your points here?
Well, I think the point about the Post-it notes, and I was not aware that there were people seated in the audience, seated SEEDED in the audience from Link. I think that's an issue, and I have to say I did the last session, and I was disappointed in the Post-it notes. I don't like that way of trying to gauge community input. Once the Post-it notes go up, you never see them again. There's no way to keep track of what people said on their Post-it notes if you're trying to gauge for yourself what the community sentiment is. And I just want to raise that as an issue. I'd like to see them do it differently. I would like not to see Post-it notes again.
Okay. I don't know how they're going to use Link to facilitate this discussion. I've asked I asked Commissioner Simmons to get them back on the agenda for the 24th, which they declined. So
They being
Demhead.
Demhead?
Yeah. So I wanted them to give us a run of show, which is what they said they would do. So I'll keep hammering them. I'm sure Commissioner Simmons will keep hammering them for a complete run of show prior to going into the disposition meeting. So hopefully on the 24th, we'll have more detail about Link's involvement, what they're going to be doing, and how they're going to be facilitating. But so I don't know if they're going to be their folks sitting out there in the audience, or if, you know, Link is just going to be going around to the different breakout rooms with development teams and facilitating discussions there. I don't know how they're going to use it. And to be honest with you, when I spoke to Demhead, they did not know. Because they had changed the format for the Chevy Chase community, and this was the first time that they were using this format. So they had not, in fact themselves, thought it all through. So I think, some things are probably still on the agenda. If we want to say, there's a concern here or concern there about certain things, we probably have room to do that.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be fairly new, because as before, these meetings were like a couple hours, and they're doing it a whole day. And Commissioner Sherman, that day was designed for people that had intermittent schedules, so that people that couldn't be there in the morning still had an opportunity to talk to a development team at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and vice versa. So it's going to be open. But I think what we really need to get to, while our time is running down, is the community engagement plan. We talked about, we added on the agenda some information to get us started on the discussion in terms of like Go Vocal, and myself, Commissioner Gosselin, and Sherman can talk about that. What we plan to do in terms of outreach as an ANC body versus what individual commissioners are doing. So we might want to talk about that. Implementation of an ANC-wide survey, a communications plan for the ANC. So like right now, we just, kind of individually put it out there, but, we should have some messaging from the ANC. And then if we, want to do ANC-wide events, the last time the ANC tackled something like this, we had pre-engagement events, we had post-engagement events. So we might want to talk about what kind of discussions we want to hold. Do we want to have a special meeting where this is what we talk about and we discuss some of the issues that have been raised in the chat and within the commissioners itself? So hopefully we can go through some of these. And I know, Bruce, you posted a document on the Microsoft application, so everybody could go in and kind of fill in some thoughts and ideas. So I'm sure you want to discuss that too. So I don't know if you guys want to just take it in order. Maybe it's a good place to start with me, Bruce, and Gosselin going over Go Vocal and how the previous commission is porting that over to use in this project and other projects. I think that's maybe a good starting point, because that platform, we can incorporate the survey, we can incorporate different phases of the project, all the way through the end. I mean, it is extremely robust. Do you guys want to start there? You want to start somewhere else?
Well, that makes sense.
Go Vocal? Okay. Commissioner Gosselin, do you want to kind of start, because you really originated Go Vocal?
So let me just say, we're working out there are some things that this is a consortium of 4 ANCs that are going in to make this an affordable platform for us to use. The other 3 ANCs have been very generous in letting us go first. Go Vocal's tech support has basically focused just on us, and I had a meeting with the other ANC Friday just to work out really not ministerial stuff about what the registration page would look like, and whether just to assure the other ANCs that we were not going to monopolize every bit of the new platform. So that stuff is being worked out. I think the platform is going to prove very useful. The problem we have is that it would be really good if we could get stuff in advance, pictures stats from each of the developers and post. When I think, given that DemPed has refused to come to the March 24th meeting and it hasn't yet given us another show, we're going to have to scramble March 30th, but after the March 29th meeting, get this stuff up.
Peter, can you speak up a little or come closer to your mic? You're going in and out.
Okay. I mean, I think we're gonna have to scramble to get the major pictures of the plans and the major stats about them up on the site and with some framing around.
Here we go. Come on.
Let people start responding to them. So though I think it's a rich platform, it's sort of being held in abeyance until the 29th, I think. We may find ways to put it to use earlier, but anyways, that's where we stand right now.
Let me give them an update a little bit on me working out the project. So we can actually, the way it's designed, and I will email, we need to email them a link so they can kind of see it. But you guys had an administrator meeting. So there are certain members of the 4 ANCs that are acting as platform administrators. And then there's certain of us that are acting as like project managers that actually build it out. So I've started building out the project for the disposition meeting, just with the front page that's with a card that's, has a picture of the Civic Corps, says a disposition meeting. And the way you can build it out is by phase. So the first phase is called like introductory. And it might just say, here's what's going to be held. I think I just have basic stuff like here's the meeting, date, virtual option. And then I think I used Bruce's language when Bruce sent out the email to his folks. I think I have that at the top header. But then the next phase would probably be what Peter is talking about, where we show on that site, I would assume the plans. And then if we want to have whatever our engagement tools are. So if that's a survey, open comment, and the way you can also use a site, and Bruce, you can chime in on this if you want, it's interactive. So someone can go on there and choose to follow that project and communicate with other people and community members that are also following the project. So they can add comments, they can say vote, like maybe we have a tile for one development team where we put maybe a snippet of their video presentation, maybe the plans, as much information as we can get in there. And then maybe the community members can go in and put comments in there. They could maybe vote it up there, vote it down, however. It's a lot of engagement tools. And what I would like to do is, as it's being built along, and I think we got to figure out the best way to do that, is maybe have regular between us, Corinthia, Bruce, whoever wants to join, just like maybe a half hour where we go in maybe once or twice a week and start finalizing the build out, because that's going to be really important. Like the information that we put in there, what engagement tools we add, and how it looks. Now, we don't have to build out every stage before we put one stage up, because maybe we want to put the first stage in there now, because now we're communicating to the public that this meeting is going to happen. So I think it would be appropriate that the first stage in the site is up where we say, here's the introductory and here's what's going to happen. And then as the next stage comes on board, we could start building that all the way down. And I mean, we could do it obviously in advance, but depending on how the site works, if it allows us to do that, we should probably think about doing something like that. And I think, but I think Go Vocal is just one part of our engagement process. I mean, it's a big part with this, But I do think that ANC has to think about how do we get Go Vocal out there. I mean, and that's why I put like, okay, what is our plan to communicate and disseminate Go Vocal? I would love to see like the ANC, like maybe between me, you, Bruce, and Peter, who are like in there working with it, do a community-wide session on Go Vocal, because we're going to have to show our constituents how to use it. We're going to have to introduce it to the community. And we're going to have to get them comfortable with using it. And I don't know if that's going to happen by just sending them out a web link. I think they're going to need some hands-on, sessions that we could probably all do. So let me go to Commissioner Simmons, then Sherman.
Oh, just really quick, I just wanted to ask you, Peter and Bruce, if I can get in the mix with Go Vocal to kind of jump in and try to use this the best that we can for the disposition meeting and kind of work on leading some of those feedback sessions. So if you guys can pull me into that, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think, what maybe we can do it offline if you guys got a better avenue of doing it. But, maybe once a week, let's just set up a standing meeting at a certain date, certain time. And whoever wants to join can join. But we definitely need you in there, Corinthia, because it's, in your single member district. But, if other commissioners want to hop on, and just knowing it's a working session where we're going to be actually in the system saying this is what it should look like, this is what it should say, that would be very helpful. Let me go to Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, just to note that we're going to be building the airplane as we're flying it.
Definitely.
And the problem with that, of course, is that there's significant room for a positive learning experience that can also be frustrating for the community.
Right.
And at this juncture, we want to minimize frustration. We want to maximize transparency, ease of use. So I think we have kind of a threshold issue around how much of the functionality of Go Vocal we try to implement now, how we can keep this as simple and straightforward as possible. And we have, which we don't have to talk about tonight because the community is going to be less interested in issues around what registration looks like and how much information we ask people to provide in registration and that type of thing. But it does bear on some fundamental issues around anonymity and confidentiality that we do have to address. And we can do that offline, but we haven't yet. So I support having that conversation, Commissioner Gore, that you're referencing as soon as possible. To a group of us can get together and anybody can obviously join on the commission. So that aside, I think also tonight, to the extent we can, we want to talk about what we are hoping to get out of it. Because a lot of this, of course, form follows function. What we want to get out of it on the back end drives how we set it up on the front end and how much of that functionality of Go Vocal we endeavor to use.
Agreed. Commissioner Nagy? Then Gosselin. You're on mute.
Sorry. Doesn't Go Vocal have a process for rolling this out that they can help us with? And also, I'd like to be involved as well, please.
Any member, everybody will get the invite. If you want to join, join.
Cool. Yeah.
But Go Vocal has a really robust support system. So they are definitely giving us a lot of information and support in terms of rolling it out. But, it's up to us to kind of design it and push it out there. But they, just today sent out an email with suggested sites and project sites to look at for an example. So they've been very good customer service and very helpful. Commissioner Gosselin. You're on mute.
To address Bruce's point, absolutely confidentiality and complexity versus simplicity are hugely important. I want you to understand that the meeting Friday is we have to set up a system to bring people into either one or the other of the ANCs. I advocated at this meeting that then once a person is inside ANC 34G, we can decide what we want to ask them in addition. But just getting inside is that there has to be an initial sort that takes them to ANC 34G, and that was the issue before the four of us on Friday. At that meeting, this issue of making utterly clear from the landing page on that people's information will be kept confidential, it will not be used by anybody or sold by anybody, and that the ask coming into the system is very minimal. Now, this commission may decide that once inside, it wants to ask people all sorts of questions, you know, to mix and match, dice results up. But the stuff that the four commissions have to address we're trying to keep very minimal, and we're trying to make sure people understand their private information is staying private. Somebody in the chat asked, who are the other ANCs? They are 3A, 3D, and 4A. Now, Lisa, you help me. 3D is Palisades.
Mhm.
A is
4A is Shepherd Park.
but 3A is
I think Tinleytown.
so I mean they're immediate adjacent ANCs, and so in any case.
All right, let me go to Commissioner Grunwald.
Yeah, hi. So I'm sitting here listening to all this, and what I'm coming away with is that Go Vocal is brand new, and it sounds really complicated, and it's got privacy issues, and it's got a learning curve, and I don't know if this is the time to start something new and complicated when we just have a couple of months to get everybody's opinion in our entire ANC and all of Chevy Chase, DC on this proposed development. So I'm proposing that we do an ANC-wide town hall the way that Commissioner Sherman has been doing for a couple of years now. He's kind of mastered it. And then just email a survey, an ANC-wide survey to all our constituents. And if that's not done, I plan on surveying my own constituents, no matter which way we go. But I think the way to go is simple. I don't see why we're getting into this complicated thing right at the worst time. I think we should just keep it super simple, have an ANC-wide town hall online, the way that Commissioner Bruce Sherman has been doing for a couple of years.
And others.
He's mastered it, and
others.
and do an ANC-wide mailing for a survey. I think that we've done that, and that worked out really well last time. So I think we should do that.
Let me go to Commissioner Gosselin.
So, Carol, I think a town hall, multiple town halls are great, and I think we should do them. I think that every commissioner should proactively go out to their districts, and I'm leafleting already, and I think the challenge we face here is that this may turn out to be a yes/no vote. We hate them all, we love this one, but it could much more likely turn out to be, hey, this is good, this green space works, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and where we're trying to go with the resolution is not yes/no, but sort of give the city a kind of menu of what we think is acceptable and what isn't. And so I mean, one of the reasons why Go Vocal is a useful tool is it can ask the big yes/no question, but it can also start to say, okay, this time around we're going to talk about green space. Now, you've seen 3 proposals for green space. Like, how does it work? Which one works, which one doesn't? Maybe maybe none of them work. Maybe all of them work. I don't know. But there's going to be a kind of parsing that needs to be done And so I mean, I think this is the tool to do it. You are right. We have a learning curve, and you are right, Bruce. We have to keep it simple. And one of the ways I think we keep it simple is we do have big meetings, but I think we also ought to use this tool.
And I'll just add to it. It's really not that complicated. What's complicated is making sure we have the information in there that we want. And really, I have probably the first 2 phases of the project already built out. So it's as complicated as pushing the clicking on the link to get to the website that has the information on the project. If we want to, which I thought we were saying that we were going to do, is do a survey. You just host a survey on that tool. It's no different than the link for SurveyMonkey. It's a link. We can absolutely, and I think Commissioner Nagy had talked about getting the mailer information. So we have always talked about doing a mailer. Commissioner Sherman, don't mean to not toot your horn, but this ANC has always done town halls. That didn't just start with Commissioner Sherman. We've been doing town halls for years. So, and that's something that we are really great at as an ANC. So that's why I asked you guys the broader engagement question. And it's not just going to be, or should not be, in my opinion, one town hall. It should be multiple. And whatever we're going to do, whether it's a survey, whether it's a mailer, all these things, we have to communicate that to the community. And we have to think about how we're going to communicate that to the community. So it would be great if we could decide on that and, put all that together in a mailer and send it out to the community so that everybody knows which way we're going. So like if we're going to have town halls, maybe we have the town hall dates in the mailer. Maybe we have one mailer that's just the survey link, with the survey link and deadline. One of the other things that we did with the last survey is we did paper copies. If you recall the mailer, we had, I think 1 or 2 commissioners' information in the mailer where people could call and get a paper copy. So it's details like that we have to work out. But with this particular project, the type of engagement that we want to do, we're going to have to use all stops. And we have time to do this. It's not, a hugely complicated ordeal. So that's just my input. And that's from working on a system and being in the system multiple times. Let me go to Commissioner Grunwald, then Nagy.
Yeah, so I'm also very concerned that people who oppose the project, who still oppose the project, there are hundreds, if not a couple of thousand of them at least, who oppose either developing this site at all or putting housing there. I want their opinions to still be reflected. I don't want this, whatever we're doing, a survey or a vote or whatever on Go Vocal, just to have 5 proposals for 5 big buildings on this site and limiting that and limiting people's ability to speak their mind just by voting for one of these buildings. A lot of people don't want any buildings. A lot of people don't want housing on the site. A lot of people don't want the community center and library to be surplused. Okay. A lot of people want the site to remain public. So I'm very concerned that people who still feel that way are going to have their opinions 100% reflected.
So I think the point of the survey is to gather information and gather data, and that is from all perspectives. The survey is not going to lean towards one perspective or the other. The last survey we did, we asked the question about if you oppose housing or not. I don't have a problem with having that question on a survey, and if we're trying to get data, we probably should have that question on the survey. But in order to get information, we also want to know why they're opposed. So there's caveats to that. The same thing with maybe there are people that feel strongly about, let's just say, home ownership. And maybe all of our proposals come in that they're rentals. So we need to think about that too. I mean, there might be people out there that say, I want housing on this site, but I don't like any of the plans. I got a better plan. And I'm just thinking about at the very, very beginning, we had two community groups, maybe two groups that had submitted like to the ANC, like their own housing proposal. But we might have a community member, maybe more than one, that feels strongly about affordable housing, but don't like the way the city is doing it. So I think that's all in, and that's why I suggested because we're not going to solve that in this meeting at all. The last time we did a survey, it took us how long, Bruce? A month and a half to get, and that's why I really wanted to start this last week. I mean, we could have been in this discussion, but we need a group of folks that are going to hammer these details out and do, meet the parameters of the ANC, which we can. I don't think that's going to be the problem. The problem with us is getting the work done. And we got to get started on that, because as soon as the 29th hits, we want to be ready to have our survey out there. And we need to get our mailers out there very quickly because we want to give the community time to take it. So, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball on this planning process, and we got to get started on that. Let me go now, Commissioner Nagy, then Gosselin, then Sherman, then Grunwald.
Thank you. I do agree that all points of view really do need to be able to be heard, whatever vehicles we're using. So I agree with Commissioner Grunwald that there's loads of opinion. There's a lot of opinion on both sides here, and they all need to be able to be reflected in whatever we do. We really need to make sure that everybody can say what they want to say about the project. Having said that, one of the huge challenges for the ANC, in my view, has been for a long time the outreach and how to get the outreach. And I do have information on the mailers. I've got that. Having said that, though, it'd be awesome to have more email addresses. So I'd like to put out the challenge to everyone who's participating here tonight, who's in ANC 34G, to send their email address to the ANC mailbox so that we can build up our email database, for lack of a better word. But so we can do more outreach using emails. And tell your friends, please let us know what your emails are so that we can reach out to you. It's a huge challenge to get those emails. And if you can help us do that and help us help you, I think that would be really great.
Commissioner Gosselin?
Yeah, just to Carol's point. I mean, Carol, I think that you're absolutely right. And as is Liz, all voices have to be heard. And they can't be shaved by only asking questions like, which of the 5 do you like? But I mean, you need to be at these meetings, these working meetings, when we
I can't wait.
Yeah, okay. Well, then, you'll have your input and we will strike a balance. I mean, I think ultimately the people who opposed all housing got to express it in the 2023 survey. They were terribly upset with, among others, me, because while I took the survey as important information about where the community was, I reached a different judgment about where we should go. But that doesn't, if the survey shouldn't make that decision for me. I'll make that decision. The survey should give us good information about where residents stand on the various issues.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yeah, a couple of things. We obviously do, as we're talking about right now, need to begin to do the organizational work for a survey. At the same time, we won't know how to complete the survey until we see the proposals.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think one thing I would want us to do, and I hold my hand up and offer to help with this, is to do a bit of a timeline starting tomorrow, looking at how we would develop the survey, implement Go Vocal, do whatever training we need to do, and then think about when we would launch something for the public after we've seen the proposals, and we can then parse them to know what questions to ask and how to frame the outreach. Then we also need to know at the end of the day what DemPed is expecting from us. And I know they want a resolution, but that resolution needs to address a number of things potentially that DemPed is going to be looking for. And this gets to the point that everyone is making about giving people ample opportunity to opine on various qualitative aspects of the proposals. People like certain things, they don't like other things, relative to what the RFP stated, because at the end of the day, DemPed is going to be checking boxes. They're going to be saying, these proposals meet 1, 2, 3, meet however many there are better than others, what we asked for in the RFP. And they want us to help them in that evaluation from our user perspective. So these are things I think we need to keep in mind as we frame the engagement. The one question I have now, and I would hope we could get to tonight, would be, to what extent are we going to want to have some uniformity of input across the different single member districts? Obviously, if we field an ANC-wide survey, we'll have that. And I hear us implicitly acknowledging that we want to do that, but I think it was a question coming into this conversation tonight, if in fact we were going to do that. And I think it would be helpful to decide that tonight. And then we go about determining how we do that. And then we have individual SMD outreach that we're also discussing that we'll all be doing individually. But is that fair to ask the question, are we committed collectively to an ANC-wide, obviously if we're talking about implementing Go Vocal, we are, engagement and survey? Am I hearing that from everybody?
Yeah, I thought that's what I didn't have any question about that. I mean, yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't know. I posed a series of questions on this, and I wasn't sure if there were any further comments people wanted to make about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, I think, Bruce, I think there is support for ANC-wide survey. But, as Carol and Liz raised, as I have raised, I think the work is in the devil is in the details. So we got to make sure that the survey is reflected of everything that, all commissioners will be proud of to put their vote on that. And then, my concern is based off of the last survey we did, I think we have to have a conversation about kind of what Commissioner Gosselin said, because the last time we did a survey in this ANC, as an ANC in a survey committee, we bound ourselves to, looking at the survey as a tool at a point in time based on everything else that the ANC and individual commissioners had done in terms of outreach in their single member districts. And I don't think that was honored. We came back with people, you included, saying we didn't listen to our community. And for me, that was a little offensive. So my concern is not necessarily that we, don't do the survey. I want to do the survey, but I also want us to respect each other in the process. And that's probably my biggest concern.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm not going to contest what you just said, Lisa. I think we're all committed to soliciting the broadest possible feedback from the community in various ways. I support doing that in every way we possibly can. My issue has simply been historically with respect to the previous survey that I thought that was a very good faith effort to tap into a very broad spectrum of opinion in the community about what was in the offing by DemPed. And so at any rate, I think it's great then that if we're going to implement that ANC-wide, that gives us then some uniformity of data that we can look at collectively. I'm interested in representing my constituents, but obviously on something of this magnitude, it matters to me what other residents in our ANC think, not just my constituents. And so
Right.
having access to that, I think, is very important.
Right. No, I agree. Yep. I think we're on the same page. I mean, I really think the devil is in the details and we need to start working. Let me go to Commissioner Grunwald and Simmons.
Yeah, I just wanted to say apropos of what Commissioner Sherman just said that, I had originally wanted an ANC-wide everything, town hall and ANC-wide survey, and I still do. But to make myself feel comfortable, to make myself feel as though I'm really representing people I'm responsible for representing, I'm also going to be surveying my own SMD. And and I will be, most likely basing my vote or my feelings based on what my constituents say in my survey. So in case the ANC survey is wonky in some way or whatever, at least I will feel confident that I asked the people who live in my neighborhood what they want, and I will feel comfortable that I will have asked them all the questions I think they should have been asked, and I will represent them based on the results I get. And I just wanted to say that I already have a team going out door to door collecting email addresses. So I think I'm going to be pretty well set up for doing that. For
And
doing a survey. Yep.
that's great. And I do agree. I've done my mailers to my entire single member district on a disposition meeting. So I'm definitely going to have a robust engagement process for SMD01. And that's going to be separate and aside than what we do as a commission. And that's where I think, my last comments to Bruce, you all are going to do what you all think is right for your SMD. And that's what you got to do as a commissioner. Some of you guys walk out there pretty much every day. You talk to your folks, you're on email. Your single member district. And it's up to you to vote how you vote. And they will in turn vote the way they want to vote when it comes election time. So I think this is all going to be good. I think we're going to do a great job as a commission, and I think individual commissioners are going to do a great job as well. Commissioner Simmons?
Yes, I don't want to belabor everything we've already discussed, but I'm in agreement we should do a survey, but I just want to remind the community that this development is not just going to be for us today. The development is for the future. So I'm a person with a young child. That library and community center isn't functional for my young child. And if my son stays here and he has kids, we want to make sure that whatever we're talking about, it's representative and inclusive of the entire community. And also there is a comment, I do want to mention that not only 34G uses our library and community center, so I think we should not narrow our survey just to 34G. If people outside of the community want to participate, they should be allowed to do that. For example, a lot of us use Wilson Pool. Do we not get a voice about what happens at Wilson Pool because we don't live there? No, we utilize it. We are residents. So I just want to make sure that, yes, we gather the thoughts and comments from people in our community in 34G, but everyone in the city has the opportunity to use our library and community center. So people in Cleveland Park may want to come to the disposition meeting. Anyone is welcome, not people who live here. Anyone is welcome. So I just want to remind the community and our commissioners that we should be open to that. And then I just want to reply back to Bruce. As I mentioned to everyone, I talked to DMPED and I asked them what were they looking for, given that this project is in my single member district. They have said that we can do whatever we want to do, but at the end of the day, they would like to know what it is that the community likes about the presentations, what the community doesn't like. I believe Commissioner Gosselin mentioned we like green space from number 1. We like the way the building looks for number 3. That's what they're looking for. So I just want to make sure we're focused on what the ask is. I know there are other elements about everything else, but again, We all have, I mean, I know it's different because I have a young child and I get when I'm maybe 30 or 40 years, my thoughts may be different. So I just want to make sure we're inclusive, and I want to make sure that we are very intentional with reaching out to parents at the park. So I know a lot of us are door knocking. Please come to the park. A lot of us are sitting there bored. Ask us what we like. That's another way to get information from your constituents as well.
We go to Commissioner Nagy.
Thank you. To Carinthia's point about what DEMPED wants, and this also ties into something that Bruce said earlier about the RFP. I think if I understand the process correctly, the reason you do an RFP rather than a bid is because you can go back to the proposers and say, yeah, we like a lot of stuff about this, but we want to change some stuff too. So just ticking boxes on the RFP doesn't necessarily carry the day. We ought to be able to get DEMPED to, assuming the project goes forward, we ought to be able to get them to make modifications to it, because that's the reason you don't do a sealed bid. That's the reason you do a request for proposals.
Okay, Commissioner Grunwald, and then I'll go to community.
Yeah, I utterly disagree with Commissioner Simmons. This is our library. It's our community center. We're the ones who primarily use it. We're the ones who are going to have to live with any problems that arise from it, like too much traffic, too much parking, whatever problems arise. We're the ones who have to look at it. If it's giant and ugly and horrible, we're the ones who are going to have to look at it. You know, I don't care about what people downtown think about our library or community center. I didn't vote on, you know, the library and community center in Cleveland Park or, you know, wherever, what other communities. This is our opportunity for our community to vote on something that is at the center of our community, literally. And I believe it should be any survey should be constrained only to the residents of Chevy Chase, DC. Thank you.
Michelle Wolin.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen instances when things have been opened up to everyone, and what you then see are a multitude of form letters from people from Silver Spring, from, you know, Southwest DC, because they are members of a group that has reach beyond this community, which regular people living here don't have, okay? So it skews the results. They are overwhelmingly, you know, connected to these very well organized, smart growth groups that have, you know, members all over the place. And, you know, you have Cheryl Court, who is paid to lobby for development. So that's the problem. I understand there are people, you know, I wish there was some way to bring in people that are in, say, Forest Hills, Friendship Heights, who do come here. And if we can somehow do it, like we did with the last one, we asked where they lived, and let's just hope people were honest, that's fine. But you know, there is just a real problem with outreach to the entire city because it reflects groups that have broader reach, Greater Washington, Coalition for Smarter Growth, all the numerous smart growth groups. And let me remind you, the city, the mayor, is pushing this already. Okay, so you can say that that is a view of, you know, the executive who does look at the city as a whole. Well, frankly, they're pushing Rock Creek West, but whatever. They had this with OP and all that. This ANC represents this community. And that has been repeated over and over again by the office of OANC. That is what you're doing. It's when you know what's best for each community that you know what's best for the whole. So our community in the run up to this was pretty much left out. Okay. And like I've said a million times, I was at every meeting for the last 4 years. So that's the issue. I do want some way to know the people that live in this ANC. Okay.
Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, just very quickly, we can structure any survey and go vocal or otherwise to differentiate between
Yeah.
people that are in our ANC and those that are not in our ANC. That
Right.
just does get back to the issue that we talked about earlier, which again, it's a detailed question about when people register to use the Go Vocal, do they indicate identifying information that helps us place them already in our ANC? We'll have to sort that out.
And I thought the Sophie said that we could do that, right, Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let-
Okay. So, Peter,
It's something that's going to have to be worked out because the way at least the conversation went Friday is that we'd ask people for their address and then write a script that would send them to ANC 34G and would sort by SMD. But we then, I think, listening to this conversation right now, I think we also ought to say, you know, for people not living in ANC 34G here, here's a non-resident option, a bucket that they can
Yeah.
sign.
and they would probably want that too. I mean, for their ANCs, their project. But I mean, I would encourage you, Peter, to speed this admin group up along. We need to like get that part resolved.
Okay, I mean, we're working on it.
Hey.
You know,
Okay. Do we want commissioners? So Bruce, you
Mhm.
had your document up. Is there anything that you want to add to the discussion? Or what I would kind of like to do is set up like maybe the working sessions with the commissioner.
It's fine.
Okay. What do y'all want to do that offline? Float some day. Maybe I'll do a doodle poll.
Sure.
Is that
Yes.
good?
but
All right.
you want to do ones weekly until the 29th? So we get started.
Only have 2 weeks, right? I mean, I'm thinking maybe one at the beginning of the week to discuss we like this, we don't like that, and then maybe at the end of the week to check in and say this is, you know, what it looks like. Maybe I'm thinking maybe twice.
And do we
It
want to?
don't have to be long. I mean, like a half hour, 45 minutes.
Well, this is useful. This business about non-residents is useful. I'll take this back to the admins and try to get that straightened out. But so do we also want to at least tentatively set up something about town meeting or a town hall, or is that going to wait what we get from March 29th from DEMPED?
Well, so I would like to hear the commissioner's opinion on that because I think we were missing a big opportunity if we wait until after the 29th to have a town hall. I mean, I know it's quick, but it could just be here's what's coming. That's what I'm going to do. Here's what's coming. Here's some of the expectations. And you know, hear what people have to say about the format. That's why I'm also going to try to press DEMPET on giving us more of a run of show. But I mean, you know, whatever the commissioners want to do on the ANC wide.
Just a couple of quick things. The DEMPED meeting on the 29th is in effect a town hall, right? It is itself with DEMPED a kind of a town hall. What you're talking about, Lisa, is giving our residents an opportunity to weigh in on how they're seeing this this activity of hearing it from the bidders and what they're looking for and that type of thing. I think we can each do that individually in our SMDs. And then after the DEMPED meeting, obviously, we're going to be working on Go Vocal, the engagement platform, and the survey. And then we'll take it from there in terms of what further broad town hall type enterprise we would need. Because again, folks will have been at that meeting or they could watch the video recording of the presentations. So anyway, I think some of this is to be discovered, really.
Could I just, the other point is that it's too bad, but we just simply don't have much to give people right now. And I do think there's going to be this, people will come to the meeting wanting to know, you know, what's the format, you know, will there be two presentations by the developers in the morning and in the afternoon before these breakouts, and we just don't have answers to that. We can hear people ask for this, but I'm not sure. I think that may be done better, as Bruce says, at the SMD level than at a ANC wide town hall.
All right. Any other thoughts? I'll send out the doodle poll, but I'd like to try to shoot for twice a week if we can. Obviously, if everybody can't make that, that's understandable. But if we could get everybody on at least once a week, and just for community members, in case we have all 7 commissioners on there, we will not be taking any votes. We're working on the project page, so it's not like we'll be voting. But I do think on we do, I think, need to take a vote on the survey. I don't know if we can have that ready by the 24th or the first meeting in April, but I do think that's important that we at least vote on that.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. We look, Laura, look at our time. Cal. You're on mute.
I'm hearing a lot of talk about a survey, and you know, Bruce has been very proudly vocal about the survey we did that was done before, and I'm curious why we're doing another one on the same topic.
So it's actually
Or
not
is
the
it
same.
actually, or is this a survey based on people having seen the presentations and then we're weighing in on that?
So it's definitely not the same topic, and Bruce, you can come in behind me. We are at a stage where, as Commissioner Simmons, I think, pointed out pretty well, that DMPED is asking the ANC to weigh in on the RFP and the bidders in terms of community preferences. We have no way of knowing what those community preferences are without asking in some type of survey like we did the last time, of all of our community members. So that's why we are doing a survey. What Commissioner Nagy and Grunwald mentioned, as well as Gosselin and myself, is that it's going to be a robust survey. There are people that don't want housing. There are going to be people that want housing. There are going to be people that want housing but don't like what the city says, and want other options. And this ANC has always felt, since going back to the last survey, that that was the best way to touch our community. I don't have any other way of getting over 2,000 residents' input and analyzing it quickly, readily, other than a survey. And that data is going to be critical for this ANC to answer the city's question. That is the big to-do hop. We need to answer that question. And you know, we have to have it as robust as we can have it to make sure that we have the data and the information to answer it.
So this would be after people get to see the presentations?
Yeah.
And they weigh in on that. Okay,
Right.
that's the difference. All right, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman, anybody want to add to that?
No, I'm just mindful of time. So yeah, it's all good.
We're right at 1:19. Okay. Thank you, commissioners. Great discussion. And Commissioner Sherman, you are up. PCAPE funding.
Great. So I'm going to move consideration of the draft resolution that I circulated to everyone regarding the potential cuts to the pre-kindergarten enhancement and expansion program that the district government maintains to supplement the access to pre-kindergarten at community-based organizations across the city. This particularly affects us because, as we all know, in Ward 3, there is no pre-K 3 at District of Columbia Public Schools. Pre-K 4 is on a lottery. Preference is given to families that already have a child enrolled. And therefore, lots of families in our ANC opt to use community-based childcare. And that childcare is supported by the district to the tune of $21 million a year, or at least for FY25. But because of the dire circumstances the district is facing, which I think we're all now becoming very well aware of, CFO Glenn Lee just presented his letter to Chair Mendelson and the mayor, I believe it was on February 28th, outlining the declining revenues that are projected for the next 3 years. And DC is looking at $1 billion shortfall in revenues. And as a consequence, they're going to be looking, the district is going to be looking, the mayor is currently looking at ways, obviously, to balance the budget, taking what could be severe cuts across the board. So we're mindful of all of that. And at the same time, I have had a number of families reach out to me just in the last week, urging action on our part to help them keep this program going because it's so critical to their families, to provide early childhood education for their 3 and 4-year-olds that might not otherwise be available to them or at a very considerable cost. DC has the highest per capita child care cost in the country at nearly $25K per year. And it is therefore a burden on families, would be a burden if this funding were eliminated. So I've drafted a resolution that speaks to this, and I've circulated it to all of you, that essentially has our ANC calling on the council and the mayor in consideration of these budget cuts to preserve the PKEEP funding. I have, perhaps there are various neighbors, commissioners who would wish to speak. I want to hear from you, obviously, on this. Raul Echeverria, who is the co-founder and CEO of Communikids, has agreed to join us tonight. And I know he wanted to weigh in. He is obviously a child care provider and has a very good view of the program, the benefits of the program, and what the cuts would mean to his program and other such programs. So Commissioner Gore, if you don't mind, we could go to Raul and then go to commissioners and other community members.
Okay.
Okay. Raul, over to you, my friend. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, commissioners. My name is Raul Echevarria, and I am co-founder of Communikids Preschool. We're a community-based organization that has been working to make sure that there's high quality early childhood education in the district. Since 2017, we have been part of the PKEEP program. And right now, at this moment, our organization serves 244 students who are in the PKEEP program in Ward 3. We're very proud of that. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is the importance of maintaining PKEEP. And I want, if I may, very briefly, try to expand people's horizons a little bit, because while what Commissioner Sherman said is absolutely true, these potential cuts have very significant direct impacts onto families who have children in pre-K 3 and 4 in our community. The focus is a little bit broader, and the potential impact is a little bit broader than that, or actually significantly broader than that. And the reason for that is when community-based organizations or child care centers create a budget and they go into business, none of them pick infants and toddlers. The programs are 0 to 5. It covers the whole span from birth through age of 5 when the students go into the public schools. And the reason for that is because child development centers exist within a very delicate financial balance. And what that means is, the reason for that balance is because caring for babies, caring for infants and toddlers is extraordinarily expensive. That's because the number of teachers that you need to have, the amount of space that you need to have are much higher than preschoolers and 3 and 4-year-olds. So what happens in essence is that when the budget is being put together, providers understand infants and toddlers as being what is called a loss leader. It's more expensive to care for them than it is to run the program. And the way that the programs are organized is we have the preschoolers come in the back end, and that evens the budget. If students are siphoned off of the community-based organizations and exclusively into district public schools, which I understand there's still not even enough slots for that. But if that were to happen, if there were to be additional slots in this DC public schools, that would create a problem for families regardless, because then there would be no way that centers could be able to survive just with the infants and the toddlers, because our budgets would go upside down. Now, the district has been very good about trying to increase the amount of funding that is available through subsidies and other programs. to make up for that, to make sure that there's enough support for infants and toddlers, but it's still nowhere near enough. And what is important is that in order for families to be able to have to move into the district and to have the care that they need to have the care not just for the preschoolers, but for the babies and toddlers as well. Without the funding for the preschoolers, things go upside down. The balance doesn't work, and we're trying to make sure that the families have access not only to the preschools but also to the infants and toddlers. And financially, it is very important to understand that there's only two things that a center can do if the preschoolers are not available. Either they eat the cost, which means that they might go under, or they increase costs for the babies. And right now, as of today, the average cost of infant care in the districts is $31,000 a year for an infant. The way that the budgets are balanced in early childhood centers and childcare centers is normally having 50% preschoolers and 50% infants and toddlers. So if the preschoolers go away, potentially there's going to need to be an upswing of 50% in the cost to be able to make up that difference. Families cannot afford that. We would be talking about over $40,000 a year for caring for an infant in the district. If families can't have this type of care that they need, they can't work. If families can't work, they're going to leave. So that's the importance of this resolution, is to make sure that we have a system that is integrated and makes sense for all families from 0 to 5. And the way that we do that is by making sure that we continue to have access to DC public schools, high quality care in DC public schools, high quality care in charter schools, but also, and very importantly, high quality care in community-based organizations, so that there's a slot for everybody and everybody has access to this very important service. I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much for that. And since we're in the community, let's stay with the community if there are any comments and come back to the commissioners for comments, and then I'll call a vote on this. Any other members of the community like to speak to this issue? If so, kindly raise your hand and we'll call on you. While we're waiting, since time is short, feel free to raise your hand. We'll come back. Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Goslin.
I understand Raul's point about cross-subsidy, but from the point of view of DCPS, if it's spending all this money, is the only reason it's not simply using it to run pre-K3 and pre-K4 space? And if that is the major reason, it really speaks ill of this, the renovation plans and the expansion plans of all these physical plants that have been done, including in our area, that they're already out of space. Is that the logic for pre-keep from the point of view of DCPS?
I mean,
Well, go ahead if you want to answer the question.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly. I can't speak for DCPS, but one of the things that I can say is that building in this part of town is everywhere, but particularly in this part of town is extraordinarily expensive. And DC public schools have buildings that are old and have buildings that are not built for infants and toddlers. They're built for school-age children. So what happens is that in order to retrofit and to be able to serve this age group, there are incredible amounts of money and outlays that need to be done. For example, the district spent approximately $8.3 million to purchase the Military Road School. And then in that building, they have 67 students, which is a lot of money it's a lot of money and not too much bang for the buck. Just so you understand, last year, Communicates opened up a center for 126 students, capacity for 126 pre-K 3 and 4 students for 1.8 million.
Right.
So it's space, but it's also logistics, and it's the fact that DCPS, the way that it's built, is not built for preschool. They're built for elementary schools, and they need to back into preschool. So, and that's part of the reason why, in its wisdom, the council, when it created the universal preschool law, thought of a mixed delivery system that included DCPS, charters, and community-based organizations as a way of kind of being flexible and being able to provide the spaces that are needed in the community with the most flexibility and the most in the way that it would be able to be promote the most value. So there is a place for DCPS, but it's good for us not to have not to be too narrow focused and look at all options as a way to make sure that we don't end up having deserts simply because the organization that is in that we don't have the flexibility that the system originally envisioned by having CBOs, charters, and DCPS.
Thanks, Raul. And Commissioner Gosselin, we can come back to you on that. I know Commissioner Fennessy wants to ask a question or make a comment.
Yeah, no, I'm completely in favor of this resolution. I teach in an elementary school, and I think it would be quite difficult to add infant and toddler care to our building, just even, little things. How tall are the toilets? How tall are the water fountains? What kind of safety rails do you have? What kind of doors do you have? What kind of playground do you have? And sometimes, you can have a fairly large range in an elementary school, but I think it's hard to put infants and toddlers in that. And I think being flexible and using resources, for example, that are church-based, where that facility may be not in use during the week, but would be used on the weekends. It's really a very symbiotic relationship that we should take advantage of. And kids who come into kindergarten having had PK, even if it's a play-based PK, and actually I prefer the play-based PK because I think the kids their proprioception, their sense of their body is more developed. They get their midline crossed a lot in play, which then helps the academic learning later. But they also are just better at following directions, better attending to task, more socialized. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I support this.
Thank you. I want to move the resolution since we're almost out of time, but if there is any other community member who would like to make a comment or ask a question, one last opportunity to do that. Okay. You just go to Commissioner Gosselin again. You're muted, Peter.
After you move it, I just have a small suggestion, if Laura doesn't want to be on it, that's fine. But I notice at the end of your draft, you have yourself and Commissioner Gore as leading the way on this. Lafayette is in Laura's district. Shouldn't she be on that too?
Sure, I'm happy to have Commissioner Fennessy be on that. Absolutely.
Lafayette is in Peak. Not saying that Laura shouldn't be on there, but just so people aren't confused.
No, that's right. It's just that it's
no, that's fine. I don't feel territorial about it. Happy to chip in, happy not to be on it, whatever. We're all good.
Okay, great. All right, so I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, can we take a vote? All in favor say aye, raise your hands. All right, it looks like we are. Corintha, you raised your hand, right? So it's 7-0. Okay, great. All right. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Raul, very much. And thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Gosselin, you are up with your overview of Office of Planning Comprehensive Plan briefing with ANC commissioners.
Well, the mayor announced that we're starting a rewrite of the comprehensive plan. This will be, I think, the third full rewrite. I think the original plan was put in place in 1984. It was revised or rewritten in 2006. It was amended in 2021. And the Office of Planning did a briefing for ANC commissioners about the the plans for the new rewrite. Their aim is to have it in place by 2027. Given how long it took them to rewrite the 2006 plan until 2021, I doubt they'll ever make the 2027 date. They continue to project strong growth in population and in jobs. I do understand that this moment is you can't do planning around a moment like this given what's happening at the federal level and what the federal government is doing to the district. But I mean, they're pretty aggressive growth and job and growth, in the sort of order of 150 to 200,000 more people and more jobs. And so housing is going to be a major focus. I specifically asked about what I have heard. I think most people expect that there will be some move to change, limit single-family residential zoning. The Ryan Hand, who did most of the speaking for the Office of Planning, said they're just in listening mode right now. There were some questions in the chat asking whether the Office of Planning was taking note of what has happened in Montgomery County, where two major plans to eliminate and to single-family zoning and then to eliminate it in certain workforce housing zones have come to naught. They said they're aware of it, but again, said they're in listening mode. So that's where we are. I think long-term, eventually this fight is going to get around to single-family zoning in the district and in our community, and whether or not different structural types, small apartment buildings will be allowed as a matter of right in what are now residential zones. Bruce, you were there. You want to add anything to that report?
Well, I would only add what we have learned subsequently, or what was happening at the same time that that OP held the meeting on revisions to the comprehensive plan. The city is projecting a loss of 40,000 jobs due to cutbacks in the federal workforce. The federal government has indicated in every way it possibly can that it aims to diminish the federal presence in Washington. CFO Lee's letter, which I commend to everyone, I sent it out to my constituents in my newsletter today and excerpted parts of it in my newsletter, is prosaic about the impacts on the city and what's going to happen. There's no way in the world that OP with a straight face can say that they can proceed with a revision of the comprehensive plan in the face of what the district is looking at right now. They just haven't been able in real time to absorb it and roll it into their planning so as to recalibrate what they're doing. But the exercise that we heard described last week is going to have to change fundamentally.
Yep, I agree. Commissioner Nagy?
Yeah, thanks. I also attended the session. I think I attended the evening session, and others may have attended the morning one, the noon one. I was also struck by the lack of realism in the projections that were put forth by OP. I asked a question about it, in fact, in the chat, and they stuck by their projections. I was really surprised to see that. In addition, I don't know if probably many people have seen this, but the House just put forth a $1 billion cut in the federal budget for DC today, and they're pushing that. So in addition to the $1 billion in revenue that we don't have from before, because that was unexpected revenue, which I kind of looked into, and it turns out that that was surplus from one year and then an unexpected bump from, I can't remember exactly what, that made up the $1 billion. So we're actually $2 billion now in the hole. And with 40,000 people leaving the district, and I think it's quite right there's an aim to make the district smaller on behalf of the federal government. I don't see how OP can proceed with the comp plan as it's envisioned. I don't see the growth that they see.
All right. Commissioners, any other comments on that? Any comments or questions from the community? Okay. Thank you. Oh, Commissioner Sherman, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. The only thing I would add quickly is, and I'm just acutely aware of this, I tried to run the numbers for my single member district in terms of the census data that I have. And the census data tells me there are 271 of my residents who are employed by government, but the census data does not break it out by federal and district. That being said, inevitably, any number of my constituents are going to lose their jobs. And any number of your constituents are going to lose their jobs if they haven't already. And I think we as a commission, I know we're all mindful of this. It's happening in real time. It's hard to kind of wrap our minds around it in the present tense about what we could do and should do as a commission. But I think it's something we need to, I just feel very strongly, I need to be sensitive to these constituents of mine, offer them help in terms of resources that we can make available to them. Something we can all think about as we go away tonight and come back and determine what we could be doing as a commission to help people who are in distress.
Commissioner Nagy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that point. And I would just add that it's not just federal jobs, it's all the ancillary jobs that flow from the federal government, contractors, people who help, people who work for the federal government, people who come and clean and all the workforce housing issues that we've been talking about. The workforce people are also being affected. I've been told by a number of people that their businesses are suffering because people are watching what they spend right now because people are worried. So I do think we need to be cognizant of that and reach out to our constituents and help where help is needed.
And there's been some, I've seen some of the commissioner emails. There's some really good summarization of resources for employees. And I think there was in Chevy Chase listserv, I think Mary Rouse also posted Montgomery County Job Fair for seniors tomorrow, 50 and over. I don't know
She
if
did
that was,
post something about that. I don't know if
yeah.
it's tomorrow.
Yeah, and I don't know if the post was today because I read like about 4 or 5 listserv posts today that were going back through Sunday. But yes, we should definitely keep that in mind.
The district is hosting on March 14th a job fair for federal workers to offer them positions, to speak to them about positions in the district government. And that and they have a new page up precisely for federal workers to look at opportunities, and they break it out by department of DC government, and they have the job listings posted. And I went into every single one of those and counted how many there were. There were 66 job openings. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of people that have been laid off, so 66 is not that many, but it's something. And there may be many more that they haven't yet posted that they will describe at this job fair on March 14th. But I think that's something I put it in my newsletter, but I might lift it out and put a listserv post up about that so people to broaden awareness that that's happening.
Great. Okay, we're at time on this agenda topic. Are there any other community announcements from commissioners or anyone in the audience? William?
Give me 1 sec, I'll get the video going. Hi, everyone. My name is William Owen Cox. I'm the Ward 3 Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services Representative. And just a quick announcement, I'm putting my contact info in the chat for everyone as well. So 2 things. First, about RFK Stadium. Just wanted to let folks know that the RFK campus project that we're hoping to undertake is with the understanding in mind that it's time for Ward 7 to have its own anchor tenant that attracts visitors, other businesses, and investment to the area. Nationals Park project in Navy Yard is a similar example of a similar project that kickstarted development of thousands of housing units, brought new restaurants, jobs, and revenue to the waterfront neighborhood. And so that's the aim with RFK Stadium. And I know we're short on time. Second thing is about the Rental Act. So Mayor Muriel Bowser invested more in affordable housing than any other mayor of a city of equivalent size, and that investment is at risk due to the abusive systems we have in place. So the Rebalancing Expectations for Neighbors, Tenants, and Landlords Act, or Rental Act, is there to make permanent the emergency EREP legislation the council passed last year, streamline court process timelines by modifying eviction timelines to be consistent with pre-pandemic timelines and neighboring jurisdictions, and strengthening tenant safety protections by authorizing eviction if a tenant or other occupant of rental unit is arrested or charged with a violent offense that occurred in or adjacent to the housing accommodations. So we hope that it can also protect the district's ability to support affordable housing projects by clarifying the district is not liable for damages as a lender when supporting affordable housing projects. Those are my two announcements. Please use my contact info to reach out to me or to my manager, Kendall Gibson, if anyone has any concerns. And for the commissioners joining me this week on sweeps, I look forward to your company. Thank you.
Hey, William, I got a question about the your last announcement.
Sure.
Repeat that. Was that Can you repeat that? Was that legislation or?
Oh, it's the Rental Act, which is meant to basically just bring the policies about rentals and evictions in line with pre-pandemic boundaries, since they were changed during COVID.
And is that being introduced by is the mayor proposing that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Simmons.
Oh, you want to let Ms. Rogers go, sticking with
Taking
the.
y'all in order.
Oh, okay. So really quick, for my constituents, I will be at the Lafayette Farmers Market this Saturday from 10 to 11. Please come out and speak, or I'll reach out to you guys. It's been warm out, so I have been back door knocking. So I did some door knocking this past weekend just to talk to my constituents. And then finally, I sent this out in my newsletter. I received some slowdown signs from previous commissioner Connie Chang. I put some out this past weekend through some of the streets on Connecticut, Nevada. I have a couple left. If anyone would like one to put in front of their home, I can give those to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barbara Rogers.
Yes, I'm sorry my camera is not working, but good evening, 34G commissioners and community. I actually I know we're 4 minutes over, so I will only take about 30 seconds. I put most of my updates in the chat, but just wanted to extend a thank you to the community and to Chair Gore, Vice Chair Sherman, for the Listen as We Climb event that we had this year. You all rock. The constituents showed up and we had a really good time. So we just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. Although we held our last event, now the work begins as we put into action with new legislation and funding from the feedback that we had from the community. Also want to remind you that DPW will now be doing street sweeping. So please move your vehicles, pay attention to the signs. That's all I have. Everything else was put in the chat. You all have a great evening.
You too. Thank you. Yeah, that was a great session. Commissioner Nagy.
Thanks. I have two very quick things. One, there's a comment in the chat about fixing the flashing on the community center. It is not the first time I've heard that comment. It's been missing in action for a couple of years now. It's up on the McKinley corner of the community center, and maybe we as a commission could do something to see if they could get that fixed. And I hear that the roof is also kind of in bad shape and leaking right on that corner. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is please look at my website, liznagi4dc.com. I have started a blog on my website, so please read it and see what I'm thinking about what's happening now.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. There's a question from Cal. What is flashing? It's a material that goes on the roof. I think in between the gutter and I don't know, somebody more technical could explain it. But with that, so commissioners, for the 24th, I have potential agenda items, presentation by DenPed. I'm still hoping that they will come. Instead of discussion, DCPS discussion on kindergarten issues and pre-keep, it'll just be kindergarten. And just to give you a little insight, couple families in my district are having a tremendous issue with DC Public School bypassing their children going from pre-K 4, not enrolling them in kindergarten, and instead forcing them to go straight to first grade. So there has been a lot of email traffic on that, including Chancellor Furby. And I've invited DCPS, the council's office, and our State Board of Education reps have also been involved to discuss that issue. Laura, did you have a question on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood, because in the DCPS budget for Lafayette, they said that they're going to have 36 fewer kindergartners next year. And that seemed odd to me. They projected a decrease of 36. But I'm assuming you're talking about because of the birth dates that
Well,
like
they make the cutoff.
they make the cutoff, but are these kids that are like September 15th or something, and it's a September 30th? It's rather young kids who would be young for their grade, who probably wouldn't be able to go into Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because when my kids went through, and it's not that long ago, they're still in DCPS. The cutoff was Halloween.
So
And
yeah,
they had
third-
latitude. They could choose whether to go ahead and enroll if the kids were ready and parents felt that they were ready, or they could hold it. But yeah, it's they're not giving much latitude to the parents at all anymore. And some kids are ready, some kids are not, and they're very small. And you know, having a September 30th birthday is late. If you're young and you are not really mature, it can be kind of tough.
Yeah. Okay. If you can send me that projected cut in kindergarten, those 36, probably these families are probably maybe some of the 36 that are enrolled. That's very
They wanted PK or they wanted kindergarten?
They wanted kindergarten.
Yeah, it looks like DCPS cut 36 slots.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, I will make sure those families are aware of this. I don't think they are. But so at any rate, I've invited all of them for the 24th. We'll have the discussion. The families will be in attendance, and hopefully DCPS will weigh in on why this issue is happening. Corinthia, did you have something on this topic?
Yes, I was just gonna see, are we gonna invite Principal Prawl as well? I think she's
I put them all on there.
okay.
Yep. From her all the way up. Yeah. But it's up to them to accept. So I'm trying to schedule a presentation for Chevy Chase Main Street. I don't know if we'll be able to fit it in on the 24th, but I will if we can. There are some other suggestions like the ANC budget request letter, threat to home rule, which I think Commissioner Sherman brought up. as well as Connecticut Avenue building owner engagement. So I just have them pending. There's also the Ward 4 constituent services. I wish Barbara was still on. Oh, Barbara, you are. The Ward 4 constituent services rep from Councilmember Lewis George's office is going to attend our meeting on the 24th to introduce himself. I forgot his name. I don't know if you have it. You could drop it on the chat. He's the new hire. He was at the Listen As We Climb session.
Yes, Christian Smith.
That's it. Yeah. So he's going to come on the 24th just to introduce himself to the community. Are there any other agenda items for the 24th, commissioners, that I haven't noted?
Corinthia here. Can you please add the treasurer's report for February?
Sure.
And there's someone in the chat that wants Murray.
That's Commissioner Sherman's. You said somebody wants Murray?
Yeah, it says from Mary Callahan, I would like there to be a public update on the Murray development plans at the next ANC meeting.
Commissioner Sherman?
Okay, I was on the agenda for tonight related to that, so we'll just move it to the next meeting.
Okay.
And I believe Brian Heilman just put a comment in the chat also. His standing interest in honoring Julian Bond, the memorial bench petition, he'd like to present that. We also have discussed previously some kind of resolution related to this. So let's pop this on the agenda as well.
Is that going to be yours?
Yeah, that'll be mine. I'll work with Brian. We'll have something out to you ahead of time.
Could it go on the consent agenda? I mean, I don't know that would be at all controversial, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, indeed. I think that Brian has wanted to have the commission take this up previously. There may be a need for some discussion as to the specific issues but commissioners have their hands up already. So yes, it may need to be done. We may need to.
I'd like to work with you on it. That's why my hand is up.
Okay.
My hand is up because, well, I think preserving the bench is fine. I think using it as a stalking horse to make it difficult any development at the community center library.
You can wear it.
Yeah, so we'll look at the resolution, get the resolution. If it's, just on a consent agreement agenda, you have to have 100%. I don't know who is. If you don't have that 100%, then we'll have to pull it off the consent agenda.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, commissioners, before we adjourn? All right, 7:44, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
8:44.
8:44, I'm sorry, 8:44. Thank you.
All right.
Great meeting.
Hey, Lisa.
Uh-huh.
Hi. The transcript went out during the meeting.
I turned it back on. I'm not sure how it went out.
Yeah, I was, I really rely on the transcript, but I was taking notes and I did see it go out, so I took notes.
Yeah,
I think it'll be okay.
If someone accidentally hit it, because we had a couple of co-hosts on, but I saw it go out and I turned it back on.
Yeah, I saw you turned it back on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I just don't know how it's going to capture. So
I just wanted to let you know that it happened, basically.
Yeah.
I didn't know who turned it back on, so thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Okay.
I do have some figures on mailers that I guess I can just send them around to all the commissioners and they can take a look at them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night.